I'm going to tell you something I've never told anyone, not even my own daughter. Because that night when I walked past the bathroom at 2 a.m., I heard my son-in-law whispering things no married man should ever say in the dark. And for a moment, I thought my whole family was about to fall apart. But what I discovered behind that door was far more terrifying than any betrayal. It wasn't another woman. It wasn't a secret affair. It was something that nearly took his life. And if I hadn't stepped closer that night, God knows what would have happened. Let me tell you how a single whisper in the dark changed everything. I'm Dorothy, 67 years old, and if there's one night I will never forget, it's the night I heard my son-in-law whisper something through the bathroom door that nearly stopped my old heart cold. It was around 2 in the morning. I'd woken up with that dry, scratchy throat that comes with age and worry, so I shuffled down the hallway in my cotton nightgown, my slippers barely clinging to my feet. Our farmhouse floorboards complain louder than a preacher on Sunday, so every step creaked like I was walking on old bones. Just as I reached the kitchen, I heard it. Richard's voice. Low. Urgent. Pull. Pull it harder. Right there. Don't stop yet. I froze. My hand gripped the hallway wall, fingers trembling. What? What on earth? Deeper. I need to get it all out. Keep going. Oh, dear Lord. I stood in that dim hallway, moonlight slicing across the floor, and felt my stomach twist into a knot. Susan was sleeping just down the hall. Poor girl had been working herself to exhaustion at that rural school. And here was Richard, her dependable rock, speaking like, well, you can imagine what I thought. How dare he, in their own home, behind that bathroom door at 2 a.m.? I reached for the doorknob, then snatched my hand back. Confront him? With what evidence? With what words? I hovered there, my breath shaky, my heart hammering like someone pounding on a coffin. Let me back up a bit, because for you to understand why this rattled me so deeply, you need to know about us, about our family. I moved in with Susan and Richard 5 years ago after my Harold passed. My little house was too much to maintain, and my $1,400 Social Security check doesn't stretch very far these days. So here I am, living in their farmhouse on 5 acres of stubborn land and tougher memories. Susan teaches at the elementary school. Richard was a handyman, one of the best in the county, until recently, until everything started changing. At first, I thought Richard was just tired, stressed, quiet. Men go through seasons of silence sometimes, a storm brewing inside them they never talk about. But then came the secrets, the late nights, the excuses, and now, this. I pressed my ear closer, my heart in my throat. Inside, I heard a pained grunt, a splash of liquid, and then, it's filling again. Oh, God, hurry before it builds up. Oh, Lord, have mercy. I backed up several steps, nearly tripping over my own slippers. My pulse raced. My brain spiraled. Was Richard having some sort of affair? Was he getting into something he shouldn't? Was this marriage, my daughter's marriage, cracking right under my nose? For a moment, before I could decide what to do, the bathroom door clicked open. Richard stepped out pale as a ghost, sweat beading on his forehead. He didn't see me in the shadows. He limped down the hallway. Yes, limped. and disappeared into the bedroom without a word. That limp had been getting worse. The lies, too. And now these strange noises in the middle of the night? Something wasn't adding up. The next morning, after Susan left for work and Emily caught the school bus, Richard shuffled into the kitchen looking exhausted, eyes sunken, face drawn tight with pain. "Rough night?" I asked gently. He flinched. "Just a stomach bug." A lie. I knew it. My bones knew it. He grabbed his coffee mug and tried to walk away, but that limp, that awful dragging limp, that was the moment I knew. This wasn't cheating. This wasn't scandal. This was sickness, dangerous sickness, and a secret big enough to swallow our family whole. But I had no idea yet just how bad it truly was. And what I would discover next would change everything. Rehook for part 2. Because the next night when I followed him again, I finally saw what Richard had been hiding, and I swear to you, I almost screamed when I saw his foot.
I didn't sleep the whole next day, not even a minute. My mind kept circling like an old record stuck on the same scratch. Richard's limp, his nighttime whispering, the strange sounds from that bathroom. Something inside me, some old woman's instinct, told me that whatever he was hiding was dangerous. Dangerous enough to break my daughter's life in half. By midnight, the house was quiet again. Too quiet. The kind of silence that makes you feel watched. Susan was asleep, Emily was curled up in her room with her stuffed rabbit, and I sat in my rocking chair, hands clasped so tight my knuckles went white. Then I heard it. The soft click of the bathroom door. The creak of the hallway floorboard. Richard was up again. I slid out of the chair and tiptoed after him. My heart thumped against my ribs, my breath shallow. The moon cast a faint glow across the hallway, just enough for me to see his shadow dragging itself toward the bathroom, limping worse than before. He entered and shut the door gently, too gently, like a man trying not to wake a guilty conscience. My poor Susan. She had no idea what storm was brewing right inside her home. I moved closer. This time I wasn't going to stand helplessly behind the door. I needed answers. I pressed my ear against the wood, bracing myself for whatever I'd hear. Then it started. Slow, slow, not again, he whispered. I swallowed hard. Come on, pull it out, all of it, please, just this once. Dear Lord. A splash, a long, painful groan, something metallic clattering against porcelain. My skin went cold. Don't overflow, not again, he choked. He was suffering. That wasn't the voice of a cheating man. That was the voice of someone fighting a battle nobody else could see. I pressed my hand on the doorknob, not to accuse him, but to help him. But before I could push it open, the sound hit me. A deep, wet gurgling, followed by a choked gasp. I couldn't take it anymore. I turned the knob slowly. It wasn't locked. The door opened only an inch, just enough for me to slip my eye through the crack. And what I saw knocked the breath out of me. Richard was sitting on the closed toilet lid, face twisted with pain, sweat dripping from his brow.
His left foot was submerged in a small tub filled with cloudy reddish water. The side of his foot, oh God, was swollen like a balloon, purple and cracked, with a deep wound oozing slowly. I slapped my hand over my mouth to keep from screaming. Oh, Richard. He was using a small suction bulb to drain the wound, wincing, biting down on a towel to stop himself from screaming. Every squeeze made him tremble, like someone fighting a demon. He dropped the bulb, breathing hard. Don't refill again, please. My knees buckled. I leaned against the wall, shaking. This wasn't infidelity. This wasn't shameful behavior. This was torture, self-treatment, desperation. He didn't want Susan to know. He didn't want anyone to know. But why? Why hide something so serious? Anger rose, not at him, but at the silence men carry like a curse, at the pride that makes them suffer in shadows. His foot throbbed again, and he grabbed the bulb, squeezing it hard, tears slipping down his face. Don't tell them, not yet, please, he whispered. He whispered it to himself, or maybe to God, or maybe to no one at all. I stepped back before he could see me. My heart broke and hardened all at once. By the time he limped back to bed, his face pale as milk, I'd already made up my mind. I would get to the truth. I would do it quietly. And I would save him, whether he wanted saving or not. The next morning, I found him hunched over at the kitchen table, pretending to eat toast. His limp was so severe now, he nearly stumbled reaching for the coffee pot. Richard, your foot. He flinched. His eyes darted away. I said it's fine. No, it's not. It's nowhere near fine. My patience snapped like a dry twig. I grabbed his wrist, harder than a 67-year-old woman should. Stop lying, I hissed. You're killing yourself trying to hide something. His face drained of color. He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. Then he said the words that made my blood cold. It's spreading. But that was only the beginning. Because the very next day, the doctor told us something that shattered all three of our lives and forced me to make a choice no grandmother should ever have to make.
Men rarely do. Pride sits in their bones like a stubborn stone that refuses to move. But after what I witnessed that night, that wound, that infection creeping up his foot like dark vines, I didn't give him a choice. Get in the truck, I ordered him the next morning. Or I swear I'll drag you there myself. He didn't argue. That scared me more than anything. Richard was a man who could argue with a fence post if he felt like it, but that morning, he climbed into the passenger seat quietly, like a man walking toward something he'd been trying to outrun. When we reached the clinic, Susan met us there, pale, confused, worried sick. I woken her with trembling hands on her shoulder and told her everything. Well, everything except the misunderstanding part. No need to embarrass the old woman in the story. The nurse took one look at Richard's foot, and her eyes widened. Sit down, she ordered, rolling him into an exam room without wasting a second. I held Susan's hand. She was shaking. My strong girl, my stubborn, hard-working girl, shaking like a leaf in a storm.
"It's going to be all right," I whispered, though truthfully I didn't know if it would. The doctor came in after what felt like an hour, but maybe it was 10 minutes. I couldn't tell. Time had no meaning that day. He looked at Richard with that expression doctors get when they're trying to choose their words carefully, like someone piecing together a sentence that might break hearts. "The infection is severe," he said softly. It was the kind of softness that scares you more than shouting. He continued, "It looks like a case of rapidly spreading cellulitis. Possibly worse. We'll run more tests, but he should have come days ago, maybe weeks." Susan covered her mouth, tears spilling instantly. It's my fault," Richard whispered. "No," the doctor cut in firmly. "This is nobody's fault. But we need to act fast. If the infection spreads to the bloodstream—" He didn't finish. He didn't need to. I felt my knees weaken. That room, those bright lights, the smell of antiseptic, it all blurred. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Finally, Susan collapsed into Richard's arms, sobbing into his shoulder. "I thought you didn't love me anymore," she choked. "I thought you were pulling away." Richard held her tightly, wincing from pain. "I didn't want you to worry," he said. "I didn't want to be a burden." A burden. Men and their pride. It destroys them before anything else does. I stepped forward and put my hand on his shoulder. "You listen to me," I said softly but firmly. "Your family. And family isn't a burden. Secrets are." He nodded, tears filling his eyes. The doctor continued, "We need to clean the wound properly, start IV antibiotics, and prepare for the possibility of a small surgical procedure. If the foot reacts well, he'll recover. And if it doesn't?" Susan whispered. Another pause. A heavy one. "We'll cross that bridge if we come to it." Richard stayed in the hospital for several days. I visited every morning with homemade soup and every evening with stories just to make him smile. He slowly improved. The infection began to retreat, the swelling eased, the fear loosened its grip on all of us. One evening, as the sun dipped below the fields, turning the sky gold and orange, Richard looked up at me. "Dorothy," he said quietly, "thank you for hearing me, for seeing me." I took his hand. "You should have let me see you sooner," I whispered. He smiled sheepishly. "I know." When he finally came home, the house felt lighter. The shadows seemed less threatening. Even the creaking floorboards sounded friendlier. Susan fussed over him endlessly. Emily made him handmade get-well-soon cards. And me? I watched my family mend itself stitch by stitch. But the night before Richard's final checkup, he caught me alone in the kitchen. "You know," he murmured, "I heard you that night when you stepped away from the door." My face burned. "Oh," he chuckled. "I didn't know what you thought back then, but thank you for choosing to worry before judging." I laughed, wiping the corner of my eye. "What can I say? I'm an old woman. My mind jumps like a frog, even when my feet don't." He smiled. "Well, you saved my life." And maybe I did. Or maybe he saved all of us by finally telling the truth. Either way, that night in our quiet farmhouse, I realized something. Sometimes the scariest things aren't the noises behind a bathroom door. It's the silence inside the people we love. And that is why I will never ignore a whisper in the dark again. Because families don't fall apart from storms. They fall apart from the secrets we're too afraid to speak.